Hello. So today we have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, the author of that famous corporate Chanakya book. And he is someone we all love. Welcome to the show, sir. And thanks for being here. I'll straight away, since you've got paucity of time, we'll get into the questions. He needs no introduction, by the way. He's got immense fan following. So you started in the sales domain and then you went to work in production planning in a jewelry company. Then you were handling sales for a publishing company without knowing one day that publishers would be running after you to get your book published by their house. In the year 2000, how did you suddenly discover, design and develop the Chanakya in you? And what is the role of Guru Swami Chinmayanand in this?
Research on my particular life. I'm so glad about that also, because what happens, not many people know about this, about my life, about production planning. That's so nice of you to actually look into the details. Kind of an opportunity that India had got. So I had actually worked in a very interesting company at that particular time, and shift happened from production planning to the IT organization. It was an organization called as Cricket Talk. So this was headed, and it so happened that one day, the company had to shut down. Not that I was kicked out, the company had to actually shut down. And it so happened that, I had to think about getting another job. But fortunately, instead of looking out for a job, as you rightly pointed out, in Chinmaya Mission, I got a guidance from Swami Tejomananji. And he said, instead of looking out for a job, why didn't you think about creating jobs? So it so happened that, I actually became an entrepreneur. And from 2000 till 2020, almost 20 years, it's been an entrepreneurial journey. And by the grace of God, Chanakya happened. I wanted to study Chanakya to become a better entrepreneur. And by the grace of God, I have become a successful businessman. But more important, I've become a successful, coach to other entrepreneurs also. So it is all Chanakya Krupa and Guru Krupa.
Yes, sir. So did people actually, when we get into something which is like the road less traveled, did people think that you were kidding when you said you wanted to make a career in Chanakya as a research area? And was it like easy or difficult to read that entire Artha Shastra, that entire Chanakya Niti and mastering your concepts? Because you need to really master the concept before you profess them out to a corporate, an IIT, an IIM. So initially you would have faced rejection also. What was the inflection point in your journey? So, we are very curious to know about that.
Yeah. In India, we have a very nice habit. We don't like to tell people no on their face.
Yes.
So even if somebody is not supporting you, they will not tell that. They'll tell you, I'll tell you when. So even if you're applying for a job, if you're not selected, you know what they tell? I will let you know. So
Yes.
that means you're not got selected. So, so nobody told me that, that you cannot make you can make a career out of Chanakya or no. But the reality is that, when people don't call you and they don't pay you money after calling you, it's a time pass for them. So I realized one thing, that, there are a lot of people who appreciated me, but there were far more people who only appreciated me, but never had confidence that I'll make a career out of it. And I can very clearly tell you, a lot of, especially senior guys, who actually thought, theek hai yaar, it's all fine, it's all good. But, apart from, giving you some appreciation, they never wanted to seriously consider applying Chanakya in their particular companies. But I say, it's okay, finally, they'll call me for a speech and, maybe I'll deliver and come back. But instead of looking at the 8 people who actually only thought it's a time pass, there were 2 people in that place who said, let me try Chanakya in my company. So I said, wow, there were a lot of people who actually took me very, very seriously. And that 2 people became 20 people, 200 people. And you're right, when I went to Chinmaya International Foundation to actually study the Artha Shastra, people said 6,000 sutras. But I never thought about it as a problem, because they say the journey of 100 miles also begins with the first step. So I took the first step. I studied the 6,000 sutras. I did my MA in Sanskrit. I did my PhD. Then in a package that corporate world can understand it. So in my case, it was not very difficult because I was already applying it in my business. So I could understand the terminologies and the kind of challenges that a businessman or entrepreneur goes through. So it's been very easy for me. But yes, as you rightly pointed out, success came in much, much later. Somebody asked a businessman, you became a successful person overnight. But he said, yeah, I became a successful person overnight, but the night was too long. So, that was the whole thing, that people see the success of corporate Chanakya and everything, but, it's been a 20-year-old journey. But then I say, finally, Jo jeeta wahi Sikandar. I've been a winner. I've been fortunate thanks to Chanakya.
Yeah. So how is Chanakya's model relevant in today's time, even after thousands of years? What have been your favorite 5 Chanakya Nitis that we can apply?
Absolutely. So Chanakya Niti has been relevant because the principles are always eternal. So we believe that the Indian knowledge is ancient. But I say, no, Indian knowledge is not ancient. It is eternal because principles don't change. For example, honesty is a principle. Whichever be the era, you still say, it is important. Hard work, teamwork, strategy. So I don't think that, Chanakya's principle have ever become irrelevant. But yes, every generation will have different challenges. Okay, so I think my contribution in the field of knowledge is to take the principles of Chanakya and make it relevant in the current scenario and today's generation. So let me just give you these 5 principles of mine, which I believe is applicable to everyone. The first thing is to actually become a good leader. Because Chanakya was a Rajguru and he was guiding leaders. So the first principle is that become an ideal leader. A lot of people actually become leaders because of their position and designation. But just because you're sitting on the chair with a designation doesn't make you an ideal leader. The qualities that you have in you is actually what makes you a leader. So the first principle is become a Raja Rishi. Raja Rishi means a person who is a Raja, a leader, a king, but also is a Rishi. So Chanakya says you have to be a thinker. A Rishi is a thinker, a scientist who looks at it very systematically. So leadership, take it very sincerely. So the first principle is ideal leader is equal to Raja Rishi. The second one is, which I really love and I've been practicing in my life, is called Vriddha Sanyogaha. So what is the meaning of Vriddha Sanyogaha? You have to be in touch with Vriddhas. Vriddhas means elders and experts. Even a leader requires somebody who can guide him. As we call mentors, coaches, or Chanakya was a Rajguru, as we said. So leader, number one, ideal. And the second is that you should have a Vriddha Sanyoga. So whenever you're in a problem, go and take the help of an expert. Yesterday only somebody called me up. He's a almost 50-year-old businessman. And he said, I failed so many times in my life. And he was listening to one of my podcasts. And he's telling, you said something which actually helped me to reflect my life. Why was I a failure? Because I never had a mentor. Okay, so remember, if you have a mentor, you will not fail. Because mentor never allows you to fail. So if a king has to be an ideal king, he should also have a Rajguru or a mentor with him. So the first one is be a Raja Rishi. Second is Vriddha Sanyoga. Third principle, which again I have practiced in my life, is called as Mitra Sambandha. Mitra means friends. Sambandha, have good relationship with others. So, thanks to you, Anurag, that you are now a friend of mine and you are actually making me popular also through your particular channel. And, I've seen so many good celebrities coming on your channel. I said, wow. So, you are going to be making me famous and I'm going to be your friend and you're going to be my friend for life. So I think that is also a very, very important quality. The fourth thing, which has been a very important practical takeaway for me, is finance management. That's why he wrote as Artha Shastra. See, friends, you may have great ideas, but finally it has to be converted into wealth. Okay, so a businessman has to be a wealth creator. It is his dharma. Okay, it's very, very important to continue growing your wealth. Not for your selfish purposes. No. For the others, So if you become greedy in wealth, then it is not good. But you can create wealth, pay the government the taxes, give a lot of jobs, create entrepreneurship. So a leader has to be a wealth creator. That is the fourth point. And the fifth and the last important point is that no leader is permanent. Okay, and that is very, very important. A lot of people start their businesses, but the reality is that the business should not end with you. It should be something what Chanakya called as succession planning. So you should not be a one-man show or a one-woman show. You have to create systems, processes, and organizations. So the individual should become an institution. So Chanakya wrote the whole Artha Shastra, where after Chandragupta Maurya also, the country started to grow. So, Chanakya, then Chandragupta Maurya was a king, but then you had, Bindusar, you had Ashoka also. So the fifth point of business or my advice that I have learned is basically that, nobody is permanent, but the organization should continue to grow beyond you. These are my 5 principles.
Amongst your 15 books, 2 audiobooks, which is your favorite one?
My favorite one among the 15 books, definitely the first book, Corporate Chanakya. बोलते हैं ना, आपके पास 10 बच्चे भी हो तो first child is always special. Not that the remaining the 9 children are bad, But the thing is that the first child actually made you a father. So that's a very, emotional connect that you have. So I became an author, India's best-selling author, because of corporate Chanakya. Of course, at the same time, I've almost completed 20 books now. 17 books already published, and 3 books in the lockdown I wrote. So I would say the first one has been Corporate Chanakya, and the second one has been a children's book, which is again my favorite. It's called Chatur Chanakya.
Achha.
And I say it is called Chatur Chanakya, which is a children's book, So as they say, both of them are CC, Corporate Chanakya, and CC, Chatur Chanakya. So if I have to pick out 2 best books among all these are my 2 favorite books.
We get stuck in the loop of success and failure. How do we overcome the same? And how does game theory apply here?
Very nice question. In fact, that's a very brilliant question, because success and failure is part of the game. But if you understand Chanakya, you will focus more on success, and failure will not come to you. Many people ask me, is it possible to succeed again and again and again and again? I say, of course it's possible. That's where strategy comes in. You have to understand one thing, that strategy is very, very important before you play the game. People fail not because they are bad. People fail because somewhere the strategy is not right. You have to study the opponent, understand his game plan. And that's where the game theory comes in. A lot of people have a plan for success, but they don't understand the plan of the competitor. So the game theory actually tells you that if you want to be a winner, you should know the players in the game. And Chanakya had something called as the mandala theory. What is the mandala theory? The circle of kings. And he says, if you want to play the game, then go and become number 1 in the game. And it is called Vijigishu. Vijigishu means world conqueror. Khela hai to number 1. As somebody said it very nicely, you never win a silver medal. You always lose a gold medal. Don't compromise with number 2 or number 3. And don't even be happy with consolation prizes, as they say. It's consoling. No. If you want to understand the game theory, then it is going and playing the number 1. So please understand, failure and success is part of every game. But you should go with Chanakya's theory of only succeeding and not even thinking about failure. So strategize, get the right attitude, and be a winner. That is Chanakya's game theory.
Oh, fantastic. Now, in terms of corporate politics, so I personally relate with 2 things, that you should never be too honest, because straight T's are cut first and honest people are screwed first. And then even if a snake is not venomous, it should at least exhibit that it has got poison. So what is your prescription on how should we deal with corporate politics, not just on the work front, in the overall world around us? Today is Kalyu, we need corporate politics tips from you.
So first things first, corporate politics, when you look at this word, see, this is the politics that happen in corporates. But politics by itself is an independent field, So we have political science in the academic field. And we have a full-fledged politician also. And it's very unfortunate that, many people think politicians is equal to corrupt. All politicians are corrupt and everything. But let me tell you, it's a science. We cannot have any country without politicians, okay? Maybe the form of governance is very different. Somewhere it's democracy, somewhere it's monarchy, whatever it is, But what is very important is that, please understand, even in corporates, there will be politics. There will be politics. And politics actually after a period of a time becomes a power game. So if you look at the corporate politics, suppose there are 10 people and only 2 of them will get promotion. So you want to be among the 2, right? And if there are 3 people who are contenders to become the chairman, you want to be the chairman, right? So unfortunately what happens, as you go higher and higher, the competition becomes bigger and bigger, and the number of players also aspirant are very, very big, So now coming to your suggestion about, and especially the Chanakya Niti, which you always love, is, you have to be very, very careful in your political game, especially the corporate political. So straight T's are cut first. So what does Chanakya say is that, you have to be smart. You have to have a strategy, and don't allow somebody else to take you for granted. So the snake may not bite, as you rightly pointed out, but the snake can at least hiss. It can show. If people take you for granted, okay, then you will be treated like a doormat. Chalta hai attitude. But you should be very serious. So what I'm saying is that you should have confidence in yourself. But how do you know? Because there are a lot of people. And many times when you become successful, unfortunately, a lot of people are jealous of you. And jealousy is a part of anybody's success story. But as they say, when an elephant walks, the dogs will bark at them. So it is very important to say that I am an elephant, but if you try to bite me, I will finish you off.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
A lot of us are confused between whether we should be a slave, continue to be a slave in the corporate world, fancy designations, vice president, fixed salary, or we should plunge into the risky, turbulent waters of entrepreneurship. What does Chanakya Niti tell us about this?
So I am very clear on this particular point that you should look at your financials first. So suppose you're getting a very fat salary and you suddenly want to become an entrepreneur. Believe me, an entrepreneurial journey is a very, very long journey. It looks very nice that, I'm a businessman. You can show off cards and say, I'm a CEO of a company. I'm a managing director of a company. But I'm telling you, it's a minimum commitment of 3 years where you have to manage your finances. You're lucky if after 3 years you can still start making money. So, it's very, very interesting that, when you are under a job, the company pays you. But when you become an entrepreneur, you have to pay others. And you may not get your first salary also for the next 3 years. So you have to be very, very calculative in becoming an entrepreneur. When I'm saying this, I'm not telling you not to become an entrepreneur. But the first thing I'm saying is that at least do your basic financial calculations. And the most important thing is that if you're married and you have responsibilities, please discuss this with your spouse. Because if you're not earning, your spouse has to earn, isn't it true? So if your family income is taken care, your family expenses, your mind is free to focus on entrepreneurship. Because as they say, neither the business will remain, neither your entrepreneurship will remain if finally you don't get the profits out of it. And Chanakya has been the dharma of a businessman is actually to make money also. So don't take it lightly. So what I'm saying for all those people who are actually, in the field of, from job to becoming an entrepreneur, think through it, take good advice from mentors because, you will require a mentor who will tell you what to do. And don't do it ever impulsively. I just fought with my boss and I'm putting my resignation. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Never, never, ever do that. I've seen so many people who take that impulsive decision and they neither have a job, neither become a successful entrepreneur. So it's a very serious journey and take that journey carefully with a lot of advice and good planning. That's how you become a successful entrepreneur.
COVID-19 has been like a black swan event. We never knew how this kind of an anxiety will come in our personal professional life. What does Chanakya Niti help us to cope with this phase?
Yeah, so the way I look at it, Anurag, is basically that always there will be challenging times. So if the COVID-19 was not there, there would have been some other challenge, So make sure you focus on the opportunity. And I have a problem. I have a formula called the 3P formula, where how to manage COVID-19 problem. So what are the 3 P's? Number 1, stay positive. Second, stay practical. And third, stay stay positive, stay practical, and have a prayerful attitude. Prayer. You also have to be spiritual because if you don't pray to God, you'll not get that Shakti. And please understand this, prayer is not begging. Okay, God give me money, God give me this. But as they say, prayer is actually getting the Atma Bala in you. Instead of telling God how big the problem is, tell the problem how big God is. So if you have the COVID-19 problem, whatever be the situation, if you stay positive, practical, and prayerful, believe me, you'll come out of this and you surely will be successful.
My last question, you are an expert of Chanakya Niti. Still, have you made mistakes in your life? And what has been that one mistake that you learned the most from?
So the way I look at it is that I won't call it mistakes. I would call it learnings. Okay. So I've been very fortunate that, I have not really made any mistakes. Because always, whenever there's a problem, I went to my mentors. I always took the advice of gurus. And therefore, what happens that if I'm going to fail, they'll tell you don't do this. So you never play a game where you're going to lose. You always play a game, always to win. So, if I look at my life, I'm saying I have no regrets at all. Okay. And even if there was a small hiccups, that was only learning. To be very frank, I have a very answer to it. If you have a mentor, you will never fail. Yeah. So therefore, the success is to make sure that you always start with the best advisors. And since it's the last question, one of my advice to entrepreneurs is very clear. I ask a lot of entrepreneurs, what do you think is the first requirement to become a businessman or an entrepreneur? And they say, idea, money, this, that. No, you may have great ideas, money, but your first requirement to become an entrepreneur or a businessman is to have a good advisor.
Agreed.
best advice failures. And thank you so much for this, that, because a question that actually inspires me. Keep sure that you have a lot of good advisors with you and you'll definitely succeed.
Thank you so much, sir, for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure having you. I know that you have another commitment, so we'll cut it short now. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Be in touch.
Thank you, sir.
And all the best to all the listeners.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.